we start section 4, Wira, with Genesis 18. A note for verse 3 is Kirsch. A note for verse 6 is Hagi Rapa. By the slant, I'm guessing that's a G. It could be Hani Rapa. Verse 9, Aqud al Ayub. Verse 13, Pentateuch Basip. Verse 21, Malayil. And in the margin there we have Shani. And one of the things we have here that we could say is the Wira and bringing in a cause. You know, and in comes the experience. And God is a noun and verb. Caused an appearance unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when they saw them, they ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord. And this is one of those rare instances where people say, I think he's referring to God, but he's using a word that actually translates as Lord, rather than is mislabeled as that way. If now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. See, so he knows that God's causing the vision, so he keeps praying to God. Some people, like, they give up their prayer or something like that if they start seeing colorful clouds or whatever. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on, and therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened unto the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran into the herd, and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it unto a young man. And he hastened to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah, thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee at this time next year. And lo, Sarah, thy wife, shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And see, she's not talking about God in this instance, but, the person who leads the community was her husband, so that term applies. And God is noun and verb, said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? Is anything too hard for God as noun and verb? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee about this living time, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence, and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And God as noun and verb said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become great and mighty, a nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that they will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of God as a noun and verb to do justice and judgment, that God as noun and verb may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And God as noun and verb said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence, and went toward Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before God as a noun and verb. And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? And God as noun and verb said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then will I spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto God as a noun and verb, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure, there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again and said, Peradventure, there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, Oh, let not the God as noun and verb be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure, there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold, now I have taken upon me to speak unto God as a noun and verb. Peradventure, there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not God as noun and verb be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Peradventure, 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And God as noun and verb went his way as soon as he had left communicating with Abraham. And Abraham returned to his place, communing. Well, in a figurative sense, perhaps going and coming, but not. Otherwise, we're not limiting God to space that he comes and goes like that. But notice that we have a different form of the gu root. But gu meaning like turning your back. We're having, it's like nations or something like that was a derogatory term, even without the guya root to it. Because, you have that different form of it. Gui. Because it's not God that's the backs are being turned on. But Wira Alu Yahweh Bauni Memra Wahwa Yeshub Pentateuch Hahal Ketchum Hume Wisha Aiden Yu Wira Wahna Shulsha Anshim Nutsbeam Aliyu Wira Wirats Lukrahatam Maptach Hahal Wishtachu Artsa We Amr Adni Amna Matsati Chun Bayanik Alna Taber Mal Abduk Iqich Na Math Mim Orchazu Ruglikam Wahshanu Touched Hats Wakcha Put Lechum Wasadu Lubkam Achur Tabru Ki Alkan Abertum Al Abdukam Wiamru Kan Tasha Kasher Debrut Wimher Abraham Hachlak Hachla Al Shra We Asher Mahri Shalish Same Qmich Silt Lushi Washi Anut Wal Habkar Rats Abraham Wikich Bun Bucker Rek Wathub Wheaton Al Hagar Wemarher Lashut Atu Wikich Hamah Wechlub Wubben Hepker Asher Asha Wheaton Lepniham Wahwa Amd Aliham Touched Hats We Aklu Wiamru Alu Aya Shra Ashtuk We Amr Hana Bachel We Amr Shub Ashub Alik Kat Cha Wahna Ben Lashra Ashtuk Washra Shim'at Pentateuch Hachel Wahwa Atriu Wabraham Washra Zaknim Baim Bimim Chadal Lahiut Lashra Arch Kenshim Wat Zachuk Shrah Bakarbah Lamer Atri Bolti Hita Li Adna Wadni Zakan We Amr Yahweh Al Abraham Lama Sa Zachka Shra Lamer Hap Amnam, Ald, Wani, Zaknati, Hipla, Mihwa, Debur, Lamwad, Ashub, Alik, Kat, Cha, Wal Shra, Bun, Wat, Kachish, Shra, Lamer, La, Tchkati, Ki, Yara, We Amr, La, Ki, Tchakat, Wikamu, Masham, Hanshim, Wishkapu, Alpani, Sodom, Wabraham, Hluk, Amam, Lachum, Wihwa, Amr, Ham, Kusa, Ani, Mabraham, Asher, Ani, Asha. I bundled that one. Wabraham, Hugh, Yahweh, Lagui, Gadul, Watsum, Wan Berku, Bu, Kul, Guia, Hearts, Ki, Idatiu, Laman, Asher, Yitzwah, At Benu, Wat, Bitu, Atshriu, Wash Muru, Dirk Yahweh, Lashut, Tzadka, Wam Shepath, Lam'an, Habia, Yahweh, Al Abraham, At Asher, Debur, Aliu, We Amr, Yahweh, Zakat, Saddam, Wamra, Ki Rabba, Wach Thatam, Ki Kubda, Mad, Arda, Na, Wara, Haksakata, Haba, Ali, Ashu, Kala, Namla, Ad'ah, We, Panu, Musham, Hanshim, Wilku, Sadma, Wabraham, Altnu, Amd, Lapni, Yahweh, Wigish, Abraham, We Amr, Hap, Taspa, Tzaddik, Am, Rasha, Auli, Yish, Chimshim, Tzaddikim, Batuk, Hagyur, Hap, Taspa, Wallah, Tasha, Lamqum, Lam'an, Cheshmim, Hatzdikim, Asher, Bakurba, Chila, Luk, Mashit, Kidbur. Heza, Lahmit, Tzadik, Am, Rasha, Wahya, Ketzdik, Kersha, Chala, Luk, Hashpath, Kul, Hearts, La, Yahsha, Mashpath, We Amr, Yahweh, Am, Amtsa, Bastam, Hamshim, Tzaddikim, Batuk, Hagyur, One Shati, Likal, Hemkom, Baburim, We An, Abraham, We Amr, Chana, Na, hu alti lidbur el adni wanki upper whopper auli yich surun chimshim hatsdiqam chimsha het shatyat butch masha at kol hayer we amr la ashchit at amtsa chim arbayim which masha we sup our aud ledber aliu we amr auli yim sound shim arbayim we amr la asha babur harbayim we amr al na yitcher ladni wadbra auli yim sound shim shulshim we amr la asha amtsa shim shulshim we amr hna na huwa lati lidbur el adni auli yith sound shim ashrim we amr la ashchit babur hashrim we amr al na yitcher ladni wad bra ak hapam auli yim sound shim ashra we amr la achchit babur hashra wilak yahweh kasher kla ledbur al abraham wabraham shib lam kamu. Now we look at that occurrence of Adni there again, and that kind of makes one think that God sent representatives. The term refers to a firm one, a leader of the community, a lord, but not always, a reference to God, because it usually doesn't refer to God. And as I said, this reference of hearts. So he turns the back on the worldly ways, but it's the merely worldly ways that is the real thing, not some anti-creation thing.